find yourselves to be generally nice people or mean people?
I feel I follow very closely more to the lawful evil.
Okay.
I'm mean, but within a set of rules.
Okay.
If you violate these rules, I will be mean to you. If you don't, I have no issue with you.
I will be mean to you. Are you actually mean to people, though, if they're mean to you, or are you just saying that?
That depends if it's worth it.
Okay.
Like, if I'm going to be dealing with them a lot and it's an inconvenience to have a constant bickering battle, then no.
Yeah.
But if I can hurt them and leave them, sure.
Absolutely. What about you, Dave?
It depends. Someone like Dan, I've known him for so long that if I stopped being mean to him, then that's probably the meanest thing I could do.
That's true.
Right?
Absolutely confused, yeah.
Because everyone hates him when we stop bullying him.
Right?
Oh.
So, I mean, yeah, I'd say generally, but I mean, don't piss me off.
Okay.
Right? Dan?
Oh.
What about you?
I just have a reputation to uphold, so I'm going to say I'm mean to everyone.
Fair.
But in a nice way.
It's a Mimic, the round table Dungeons & Dragons discussion, where you never know what you're going to get.
Welcome to another episode in our conversation on Dungeons & Dragons lore. I'm Dave, and with me today are Megan and James, and this episode is called The Lawful Planes, a plane for everything, and everything in its plane. We've previously covered all sorts of locations in D&D 5th edition, including locations in the material plane, popular locations from the published adventures, and alternative campaign settings. Before we turn our gaze to some planar travel in the Forgotten Realms, let me just remind everyone that we've already visited some of the other planes, like the Shadowfell, the Feywild, and the Astral Sea, and the upper and lower planes. You can find all these episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and dozens of other podcast apps, or you can jump over to YouTube and dig into the entire playlist on D&D lore that we've built over there. This episode focuses on the three most orderly planes in the Forgotten Realms cosmology and looks at what you can expect as players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. For the 9 Hells, check out episodes 25 and 25F, and for Mount Celestia, check out episode 178. Today, this panel of Dungeon Masters is going to jump up and down on the morality scale as we explore Mechanus, Arcadia, and Acheron. Did I say that right?
Is it Acheron?
Acheron?
I think it's closer to Acheron.
All right, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But before we get started, I have to ask you guys, where do you feel you land personally on the law to chaos spectrum?
That's a hard one. Probably more to chaos?
James, you were definitely chaos.
Yeah, you're chaotic.
Yeah.
I barely know you, and I would say that you're more chaotic.
Rude.
Yeah.
But
No,
you're
that-
right.
Yeah.
That's not rude, that's a compliment.
That's a read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just means you fit in with everybody, James.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's true. I would say I'm more, this is going to be a very contradictory thing, but I'm weirdly a very lawful person. I don't even jaywalk. Like, I get nervous when people break the rules. I don't enjoy it. I like order. I like organization. I like calendars. I like when things make sense. So when chaos comes into my life, I'm very good at fixing chaos. I'm not a person that will cause the chaos, weirdly enough.
Fair enough. Yeah, honestly, I would just say that I'm mostly neutral. I mean, I'm lawful until it is in my best interest to not be. Right? I'll play by the rules.
Yeah.
To a point.
Until the rules inconvenience you.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that about you, Dave.
It's got to work for me.
Yeah.
All right, so I think the first thing we should do is probably just revisit what alignment is. And more specifically, today we're going to be doing mostly lawful, so we're going to kind of focus on that a little bit. Alignment is basically the moral and personal attitudes of your character.
It's your compass.
Exactly. So your morality is your good, neutral, evil, and your personal attitude is your lawful, neutral, chaotic, right? It's your attitude towards order, essentially.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we do know that there are 9 alignments, and that lawful is the belief that everything should follow order, and that obeying rules is the natural way of life, whereas chaotic is the belief that life is random, and that chance and luck rule the world. Lawful characters tend to put the needs of the many over the needs of the few. They're kind of like your beacon of morality, right? That's right. That's what they are. And I kind of feel that with lawful, it kind of implies that there is honor, there is trustworthiness, obedience to authority, reliability, that kind of thing. There are qualities that you can associate with it.
Order.
Right. Now I got to ask you guys: do you think that the idea of law is too rigid? Let's roll for it.
What a cute little dice tower.
Oh, I got a 2.
What did I get?
15.
I got a 1. Fuck this dice tower. It's no longer cute.
For me, yes, I feel it's too rigid, but I don't know if there's a much better word in its place. I feel, especially with the lawful, it's not necessarily you're going to follow the laws of Canada, for us as an example, but you are going to follow a particular set of laws, whether you're good, evil, or neutral. There are rules and things you can guarantee that person will follow. So it's predictability.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that law rule as written is a little too rigid. That's why things go to court. That's why there are judges when it comes to law, because there is room for nuance. There is the idea of the spirit of the law, right? And it can be kind of taken advantage of in some situations. So yeah, I mean, the idea of it as it has to be this way, it is only this way, just that doesn't work for me, right? I think I just said, like, I mean, I'm lawful until it doesn't work for me anymore, then I'm going to do something, right?
Yeah, then you're going to argue your case.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing or not doing what I should be doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I agree. I don't think law is rigid in the sense where, like, you have to 100% follow it to be considered lawful. It's like, I feel like law is a set of guidelines, shall we say, to keep things in order, and then when things go out of order, it's the thing that you revert back to. So it's just a helpful guide, shall we say.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Megan, for that great comment.
This much dead space. All right, are you guys familiar with the idea of the Great Wheel?
Kind
No,
of.
Dave, please explain it to me.
James, I damn well know you are. In fact, I bet you probably close your eyes without looking at it and just tell me what everything is on it, especially the chaotic ones.
Just because I like surviving there doesn't mean I know the rest of them.
Just because like living in it doesn't mean that I want to talk about it.
Right? So there are more than like 24 planes. There's a whole crap ton of them. And I mean, there's...
Is that an official measurement?
A crap
Crap
ton?
ton?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
I'll get back to you later on what that is. In the PHB, at the back in one of the appendices, is that right?
Appendicitis?
Appendixes.
No. That's not
Appendectomies.
No. I had one of those. Anyways.
Speaking about chaotic.
Right? In the back of the PHB, there is an actual, like, drawn chart of the Great Wheel, but it's supposed to visualize something that is probably very difficult to visualize. The idea is that the material plane exists in the center, and the Feywild and the Shadowfell are kind of like opposites of it. They're shadows of the material plane. They are of the material plane, but they are different. They are same, but different.
Same, but different.
Right?
Okay.
And then kind of wrapped around that in the center is the ethereal plane and the inner planes. Okay, then you get to the outer planes, and this is where you start to get the positive and the negative planes. The upper, not upper, I suppose, but the good can be kind of characterized at the top of the wheel, where the evil would be at the bottom, lawful would be to the left, and chaotic would be to the right, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all on a spectrum. So today we're going to kind of be on just the left side of it.
The good side.
The lawful side.
That's true.
Yeah. Not the good necessarily.
True enough.
Right?
Fair.
But I mean, just essentially think of it as a giant series of circles. It's a series of circles with different layers that kind of...
Like an onion?
I was going to say like an onion
Or an ogre?
I was going to say like a jawbreaker, but that was me.
Planes are like ogres. Yes.
There's many layers.
But yeah, you guys get the idea. Like it's kind of arranged by the alignment and so on. Once you get to the outer planes, but the core of it is the material planes.
All I keep wanting to say is material girl every time.
Editor, dub Dave over every time, please.
Material girl.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. So with that in mind, I got a couple of questions for you. We're going to roll initiative again because I love rolling initiative because I'm so good at it. Yeah, let's roll and then I'll ask the first question. How's that?
Oh, God.
Oh, I upgraded from a 2 to a 4.
Oh, I got a 4 too.
I got a 5.
Well, let's roll off again.
Okay. All right.
Oh, jeez.
I feel like I'm just like way too close to this microphone.
10.
15.
All right.
Fantastic. Okay.
The party of murder hobos getting chased by the town guards is a classic player versus law encounter in D&D. What's one other unique kind of conflict players might run into in a campaign?
Players versus their environment. So an area that is either filled with poison or visibility, that is something the party would run into in a campaign that isn't the norm of a monster attack.
Yeah.
It's conflicting, for sure.
Yeah.
I was going to go more the direction because if you're thinking murder hobos or things that are going against law, just like having your fucking rogue steal all the time and having to deal with that process. Like, there have been so many times where I've been punished by DMs where we go to jail because someone stole the wrong item or what have you. And it can lead to a nice storyline of some kind, but it's very annoying when you're in a marketplace and you know you have to keep your eye on your fucking rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've turned our rogue in before, and we've killed one of our rogues before for
Being an asshat?
being an asshat.
I love that.
Well, I mean, it's the classic rogue versus paladin, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they butt heads a lot.
Yeah, the lawful stupid versus the chaotic dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid. I like that. I feel like that's probably going to come up later as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come back to that one. I mean, yeah, you said it before, player versus environment. I like the idea of player versus self. You can use lawful intent to really manipulate players like a paladin in order to get them to, you know, have to maybe make that hard choice, right?
Break their morality.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You really got to give them that moral dilemma. Right?
Yeah. I remember Adam, that asshat, put me in a situation as a paladin where I had to kill and revive multiple people multiple times.
Yeah, he's put me in a scenario where I've either had to decide for... My main character was being saved by the party. His soul had been snatched. So I was playing
Your
his...
soul has been snatched.
Soul had been
Okay,
snatched.
got
I was
it.
playing
As
his
is
retainer.
tradition, yes.
Yes, as is tradition. I was playing as his retainer, and he ran across another party member being ganked by, I think it was 2 vampires.
Yeah.
He knew going into that fight, he would not win.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew his goal wasn't to protect that party, but to return his lord.
Yeah.
So what of those scenarios?
Got you.
Yeah, we had one time where our paladin was really, really into trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Interrogate. Yeah. So we had one time our paladin was really trying to interrogate these goblins, and I mean this is 3.5, so alignment was a little more rigid, and he kept like slowly cutting and then laying on hands and then torturing and laying on hands. And at one point, our DM, it wasn't me at the time, just kind of stopped and was like, dude, like, you know, if you keep going down this road, it's going to change and it's going to be a big deal for you. Because if you're not lawful good in 3.5, you're not a paladin. You lose everything.
Yeah.
So there was this big moral dilemma, which I guess was more player versus character.
Yeah.
Right, trying to figure it out. So, yeah, it's an interesting juxtaposition you can kind of throw upon your party sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel 5th edition, it kind of gives you that freedom to do that a little bit more because it's not as rigid as older ones were. Because, like, in my situation when I was a paladin, killing people and reviving them to get out of some trap that we were in, in the end, I did end up losing certain abilities and certain, like, things that I could do, but not in entirety. It was just kind of like you fucked up, and you can no longer, like, hear the voice of your god or whatever for an extended period of time. Like, you have to do something to make up for it now. But it's not like it's completely gone. It's just that for a moment you had a lack of morality and you deserve to be punished for it in some way, shape, or form, right? So,
yeah. Another question for you guys. Have you ever played in the Lawful Planes or dealt with the thematic limitations of law in D&D? Now, I think we just kind of spoke about that.
Well, that part, yeah.
But, I mean, have you guys ever played in the Lawful Planes?
No, never been to the Lawful Plains.
Been any planes other than the material Feywild or Shadowfell?
No.
No?
Just to the Feywild. It's not an adventure I would return to quickly.
Yeah, I think the Feywild is the only one I've ever, in a game, been in where it was called the Feywild and you were in the Feywild.
Yeah.
Everything else has been, like, very homebrew, or we take ideas and themes from the planes themselves, but it's not like I'm jumping into the Shadowfell or what have you. It's just you are in your own place. So, yeah.
Yeah.
No? Same for you?
Yeah, same for me. I mean, I've never personally done much planar travel. Even, I think, the Shadowfell and the Feywild. If I'd ever been, I didn't know.
You didn't know you were there?
No, although I guess we did one Candlekeep recently where we did have to go into the Shadowfell. But that was just more of a plot device than, anything of substance. We didn't really get into it.
True enough.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Indubitably.
We're so good at this.
The best.
It's the DM's fault.
That's
Not
you.
Adam.
Oh, shit.
Son of a bitch.
All right, so the first plane we're going to cover today is Mechanus, which, let me tell you, there is not a lot of information about it in 5th edition anywhere. They talk about the planes a little bit in the PHB, but it doesn't really give you a breakdown on what's going on in them. It just kind of tells you what's where and how it works.
Yeah.
And then the actual paragraph in the DMG is like a single paragraph.
It's like the size of a sticky note.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All it really tells you is that this is the plane of lawful neutral, so everything is very orderly, okay?
Yeah.
It is sometimes referred to as the clockwork nirvana of Mechanus, or just nirvana, all right?
Okay.
It is a place of rules and law and process, and organization is absolutely paramount.
Sounds like heaven to me.
Nirvana, even.
It's just great. It's a place where people always make reservations. It's a place where like everyone knows what time it is. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like a great place.
Not my kind of place.
No, I would love it.
For those that spend time there, it can actually like have some effect on you as well. For instance, it does have an optional rule about imposing order, where if you spend a long rest on this plane, when you wake up, you have to make a DC 10 wisdom save, and on a failed save, your alignment changes to lawful neutral.
Interesting.
All right. Now, this effect goes away after you spent a day in another plane. So once you leave it, it reverts. It's not permanent, but while you're there, it can kind of, rub off on you a little bit. The only other real thing that the DMG will tell you about Mechanus is that it is home to the creator of the Modrons, who is a god-like being called Primus.
Primus?
Primus.
Okay.
Like the band.
Very clever.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you guys know what the Modrons are?
Aren't they like the clockwork people? Like
Yeah,
little angel type clockwork things?
Yeah, they're small little mechanized, not necessarily mechanized, but they're little things that run around and take care of the daily everydays of Mechanus. And that's really all that the DMG gives you about Mechanus itself. However, doing some digging in other places and looking at other things, you can actually find quite a lot of information on it. The idea is that Mechanus is a plane that is filled with country-sized interlocking gears. All right, these gears are 1,000 kilometers wide in some cases. They are massive. And each one is kind of its own little realm, and the amount of them is infinite. All right, there is just tons of them.
What a great sound that would make.
That would.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gears are sometimes inhabited on both sides, so that you can have a civilization on the top and a civilization on the bottom. And the gravity actually changes to accommodate that. So when you're on the top side, gravity works normally. When you're on the bottom side, gravity works normally.
So like Australia.
So yes, like Australia.
Okay.
But the big thing that really, sets it apart, other than, everything being on giant cogs, is that they're all interlocking and they all spin in synchronicity.
Yeah.
All right. And then once they all spin around, that's a full rotation over here is a different rotation over here. But when these ones align, then, it's been a year. So it's been like they can time it based on how often certain cogs spin and how long it takes that to achieve a full rotation.
Yeah.
But because they're all sorts of different sizes and dimensions, it can vary wildly.
Wildly.
Yes. Mechanus has equal amounts of light and dark, equal amounts of hot and cold, and equal amounts of the 4 elements. Everything here serves a purpose. Everything has its place here, and nobody really likes it when it varies from that too much.
Interesting.
It is connected to the prime material plane through the astral plane, and it is also connected to Arcadia and Acheron, which is your guys's. Those are, of course, both outer planes. Now, we spoke about Modrons. A little more about them. They are immortal. They live forever. Okay?
Love that for them.
Right?
No.
I wish.
I don't.
I know I don't. I take that back.
Yeah.
Can you edit that out, please?
I want to see the heat death of the universe.
Do you?
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
I don't think it would.
I think it would.
I think it would be depressing.
I think if you've lived long enough, it would
be the last thing to see.
Yeah, it'd be like, okay,
like
we're
you've
done.
seen every star in the sky go out.
Yeah.
You might as well see the heat death of the universe.
Absolutely.
I think it'd be cool.
I'm with you. I would not want to watch it if it happened tomorrow.
Yeah, no.
But like, if
I'm
lived
living
for
the
thousands
next
of years,
couple billion years, I might as well stick around to the
I'd be
very
about
end.
it. Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
So anyways, Modrons are immortal.
Chaos, yeah, go on.
And they are the embodiment of the universal principle of order. They are all sorts of different geometric shapes, and the idea is that the more sides that they have, the higher up in society they are. So if you're a sphere, sucks to be you. The highest in society, though, actually appear more as like a humanoid.
Yeah.
So many different shapes, I suppose. And of course, again, they are all ruled by Primus, the One and the Prime. That is his title.
Primus.
Okay.
Love that. Kind of.
Yeah.
Now, on Mechanus, there are many different realms, many different cogs, and they're all kind of referred to as realms, and they're all ruled by different people. Primus rules one of the biggest cogs called Regulus, okay? It's supposed to be order. It's supposed to make sense, Megan.
I hate
They can't have these ridiculous names. They have to be, like, orderly names.
I'm waiting for the next Harry Potter name to come in.
Regulus.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
At the center of Regulus is Primus's tower, and it's built in the center of this one massive cog. There are other cogs that are part of it that kind of stack on top of each other that make up all of Regulus, but the tower in the middle is Primus's home. Another fun fact, Primus was at one point killed by Orcus, but I couldn't really find out much more than that.
Fair.
Great anecdote.
Right? Cool, eh? But like I said, Regulus is the largest realm in Mechanus. It has 64 cogs. Each one is ruled by an octon. Each 4 cogs is ruled by a quartron, and a 4-region quarter is ruled by a secundus.
Okay.
Because of course it is, right?
How many sided shape is a secundus?
The secundus is actually the mostly humanoid shape. They are second only to Primus.
Huh.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
We'll take it.
With you so far.
There are a few other realms in Mechanus. Some of the ones that were worth mentioning, though, are the Keep of the Eternal Sun. This is the realm of... I'm going to butcher this. This is the realm of a Maunator. A Maunator. This is the realm of a Maunator, who is the fuck.
Bitch!
It sounds like a name someone would name their player character that's in Minotaur.
Okay.
This sounds like a name Dave would use for his
Or
character for
Justin.
everybody else to pronounce but himself.
Well, he's
Couldn't even do it
another
himself.
He's a Netherese sun god, so I mean god to humans. He is also their deity of order, law, sun, and time. So he has his own little area chiseled out here. It is also home to Mycelia, which is the realm of Silophor, who is a Myconid deity. So there's all sorts of little mushroom people and
Adorable.
stuff running around. And it is also home to a place called Delon Estin Oti, which is a perfectly symmetrical town which has 20 bordering walls, and each one has 1 gate. Everyone here is equal, and there are no rulers. All right, so it seems pretty chill.
Do you have a twin that moves opposite you out of all times? Otherwise, the town is not symmetrical.
James?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
For the sake of it, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But for the sake of making you quiet, yes.
This
It
is a
said it's
podcast.
symmetrical.
He's supposed
Right,
to not
right.
be quiet.
Scratch that. Cut that.
You're supposed to inspire him.
Inspire him to shut the hell up.
Not gonna happen, Dave.
Other than the Modrons, on Mechanus, there are a couple other peoples. There are the Formians. Have you guys ever heard of these?
No.
No, they're ant-like creatures. They're kind of like, they look like a centaur, only ants.
Only ant-like?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do have a queen who lays eggs for the hive. There are soldiers, workers, and I mean they focus on growth through conquest.
Fair.
Okay. There's also a race of beings called the Inevitables. These are constructs that are built in factories on the cogs of...
They build their own people?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, okay.
And it's
Don't
built...
we
the
technically build our own people?
100%. Make it myself.
I'll take an arm from here and a leg from here. No, that's something else.
That's
Sorry.
different.
That's a different one.
That hits different.
The factories are on the cog or the realm of Numinous, and they are focused on upholding law and order. If things get out of whack, they're going to kind of come around and forcibly make it fit back into the grand order.
Someone's running amok, they fix it.
Pretty much. It's their duty to enforce this across all of Mechanus, and they're also out looking to find more resources to make more inevitables. All right, so with all of that in mind, let's roll initiative here, and we got some questions.
Stole my lucky yellow dice.
You want it?
No, it's okay, David. You can get a
Do you
high
wanna roll
roll
well? You
this
wanna trade?
time.
No, I'm going to use my dice. 12.
5.
14. Oh, I'm not going to answer my own question. I'm going to go last. So I'm glad we rolled initiative.
Yeah.
So, Megan, what inspires you the most about Mechanus?
I don't know. I like the fact that everything is on cogs and that it works in like conjunction with itself. Because I just wonder what the calamity would be like if they stopped. You know?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's
Big fan of that concept.
yeah. Like I feel like that'd be an interesting thing to play out. But like I don't know. I like the idea
what
of it
implications
interlocking.
would it have outside to other planes? Because these cogs are probably moving something else in the universe or the greater cosmos.
Yeah, exactly.
That is up for debate. I mean, I didn't find anything that...
There's nothing to say it does, but it's also like space magic, and including the plane I have, there's things that are moving uncontrolled, so forces being driven into one of the systems.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that Mechanus in and of itself makes my OCD very happy. When I see things that are out of place and I need to go fix it, I know that that's not going to happen in Mechanus. And I really like that.
Yeah.
Right? I like the idea of the order, which is, I guess...
Like the balance of the order?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sits nice. You know, there's a comfort to it.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think is a good plot hook that would see a party end up on Mechanus?
I like the idea that, like what you're speaking to about the cogs, if they were to stop moving, that's something that you did cause them to stop moving, and now it is your responsibility to fix it. So you've been now transported to this place to fix what you had broke, basically.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I was thinking about is the group that's there to hammer down all the squeaky boards and that. They go on a war of conquest across all the other planes. And you need to figure out why these essentially manufactured machines aren't following the universe programming.
Yeah.
So you can stop the war if you fix their hive mind, potentially. Who knows? It's your own campaign.
Ooh, or what if, because this is a place of balance, right? I wonder if your character was one or the other, and then your other half was in this plane, and in order to restore balance, you have to find that person.
Yeah, you can push it on the moral thing we were talking about with the players. Do they sacrifice themselves for the greater cosmos?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's funny that you mentioned the idea of a conquest, because every rotation, which I believe works out to like 200 some odd years, the Modrons go on what's called the Modron March, where they start and they go clockwise from their plane through all of the outer planes back to their original one. And it takes them a significant amount of time to do that. And nobody's really sure why.
It's a teddy bear picnic.
Yeah, essentially they just march their way all the way through, like up through the good planes, down through chaotic, through evil, and back again. And a lot don't make it back. And again, they're not really sure why the Modrons do this, but they do it like clockwork. It happens every interval. It should. So that's an interesting an interesting take, James, because there's actually a mechanic already kind of in there for it.
How convenient.
I didn't even know that.
Look at you.
I know, look at me just making up
Just
things
making
over
shit up
here.
and be like, oh, yes.
Right? I like the idea of using Mechanus as a kind of a jumping off point. They've woken up here, they found that things are out of order, and then they've got to, kind of go through a planar expedition to figure out exactly what's going on. James, you mentioned that things are interconnected. I might homebrew some stuff in order to make that work a little bit better for me.
Yeah.
And give them some purpose that way. What are some potential issues you think might arise when you run a session or two on Mechanus?
Any chaotic, stupid player.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump the gun there.
No,
but
and honestly, I think that's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Is that you're going to be
Someone who's
constantly
not
fighting
gonna-
with the morality of
Yeah.
the players at the table. And it's hard because you want them to be able to role play as their characters would do, but at the same time, it's like, how do you smack some sense into your lawful, your stupid chaotic characters?
Yeah, that's the big one. And that's the part of the issue of the stupid. Like, their character can be dumb. They can do dumb things, but they should know there's a time and a place, even if you're on the far end of a chaotic character.
Yeah, but I think that you can definitely play into like the balance of things though. So punishing your players would be a little bit you don't have to be too harsh with the punishment of your players because
Come on, it's my favorite thing.
I know, but like as much as we love to do it, it's one of those things where it could become unfun at some point, right?
I think this would be one of the planes you do an equal and opposite reaction.
Exactly.
If they fireball a house, a fireball
Ball
lands
hits you.
on them.
Like-
But do it different elemental, just to play with the duality of it.
Yeah.
They hit you with fire, you hit them with ice.
Yeah.
And it's just back and forth until they stop being stupid.
Yeah.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a fun thing to play into, though, is the balance of it. Like, if they do something stupid happens to you. Or if you do something good, something bad happens to someone else.
Yeah.
Like, you can play it both ways, right?
Hold on. Are you suggesting that players need to be accountable for their actions?
What a crazy concept.
I know this is 5e, so it's a hard concept for everyone.
Yeah.
But
Hard thing to understand and digest, but yeah, absolutely. Hello, wonderful listeners of Podcast Land. This is a friendly reminder that if you want to head back into the dark and terrifying depths that is the It's a Mimic podcast, just to explore the hundreds of episodes that are filled with inspirations, opinions, and dirty-ass jokes, the best resources we offer are actually our YouTube page, which has everything broken out nicely into playlists, also our r/It's a Mimic on Reddit, where the episode guide actually lives a quiet and unassuming life. And if there is a series that you think needs more episodes or a topic that you would like a deeper dive on or just a straight up update for, send us a message at info@itsamimic.com. After all, this is content for you.
I will be discussing the plane of Arcaron.
Akron?
Akron. We'll go
Akron.
Akron.
Like Ohio.
Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
Akron, Ohio.
Ohio's for lovers.
Are we saying that right, Peps?
She's like, fuck off, guys.
So this is a lawful plane, as we've been discussing all day, but this is a plane between lawful evil and lawful neutral. There's 4 main floating block sections, essentially, of this plane, and they're just floating in space. They're the size of nations, and each face can house a different nation. Gravity is relative to that face, similar to the cogs, so whatever face you're standing on, gravity will pull you to the center of that face. My question is, what if you're at the corner of 3 faces? What will happen to you? Are you going to be pulled into the corner? And as well, these cubes crash together at predictable intervals, so you can travel between them with these intervals. So if you're at a crash point, and that crash point is 2 corners, you can stand between 6 corners. What happens to you?
You explode.
I would assume, but
Implode.
maybe implode.
Displayer. Like, displayer?
You
Displayer.
Spider-Man in Endgame?
You do
Multiverse?
a dex check.
With disadvantage?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you're of that plane.
Fair.
Okay.
This plane at the upper levels is a constant state of war. Spirits from long-ended wars will continue to fight each other over a blade of grass to the difference in race. They don't care, they are just killing. Well, unkilling, because it's perpetual war, and spirits, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There's 4 different levels to this plane. Alvis, Thandrin, Tantibus, and Ocantuths.
That was good.
Thank you.
Crushed it.
Loving it.
And this is called the Iron Shod. This is where the most of the battles take place. So there's armies constantly clashing and constantly moving, and the sounds of these battles ring out across the whole plane. There's several major features in this layer, such as mountains that are triangular, as well as giant pits. And the river Styx actually flows across this layer, only this layer of this plane. It will come out one of the pits, cross the plane, go over 2 or 3 faces, and go back into the plane. Alvis is adjacent to Nirvana, the 9 Hells, and the Concordant Opposition. The portals are hung in a fixed location in space, so they're not always accessible. So when that layer of the plane comes in contact with the portal, you're able to pass through it. As well as when the portal goes inside the plane, it's unaccessible. A different sound will indicate which plane you are connecting to. So a harmonious chord will indicate Nirvana, discordant chord meant for the 9 Hells, and silence indicates the concordant opposition. Thaldarin is similar to an elephant graveyard or Sarago Sea in the Atlantic, where it just collects trash. So random creations, random spells, papers, things end up in this layer of the plane.
This is that planet from Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, it's the junk planet.
Yeah, where they've got the Devil's Anus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking of Wall-E, and it's actually planet Earth. But
That
that's
too.
Fine.
It's a trash dump too.
It's trash dump, yeah.
And it's similar to, as Dave was saying with the Mechagon's March. I feel like this is where a lot of the corpses go from them not making their march. There's no particular inhabitants on this plane, but people do go here to find discarded experiments, weapons that they may be able to use to win their wars. Tantibus is the 3rd layer of this plane. Oh god, I should just learn to read. It has blocks that are different than the other layers. These blocks are gray volcanic blocks with many-sided faces. When the blocks of Tantibus collide with the surfaces of the world, it fractures into hexagonal shapes.
Oh.
Interesting.
Right? Ocanthus blocks is the 4th layer and final layer in this plane, and they're squared and razor sharp and razor thin. They're almost as thin as being 2-dimensional. Some of them are centimeters across, while others are kilometers across. Both sides are black squares, and normal gravity will pull you to that particular surface.
Okay.
The main inhabitants of this whole plane are legions of spirits. From any living entity that has a spirit, this probably has race members fighting here. They no longer know why they're fighting. They've just been lost to battle. On the upper plane, there is wardens of imps, rust monsters, acrolantias. Good enough. The occasional devils and modrons. That's it.
Oh, you got Modrons as well, hey?
They just show up there. Everything shows up for this plane.
Yeah, I feel like the Lawful corner.
Yeah.
I feel like they all kind of share the same kind of.
Yeah, I have portals to the other planes just there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's roll. I got a couple questions for you guys. James, I don't want to offend you. I'll take whichever
No,
die.
you can have the yellow one again.
All right.
White die.
Oh.
1.
17.
10. All right. So, what inspires you the most about Acheron?
These legions of fighting spirits. That they're fighting for an unknown reason anymore. That could be part of a call to a party. Like, to either stop a battle or to make one recommence. Because maybe these, as we were talking about with the moving gears, I'm going to jump into the next question now because I have an idea. As we were talking about the moving gears in the last one, what if these wars and these battles are essential to the functioning of the greater planes? So these fights happening have to happen.
Well, I mean, I think the idea of it being a lawful plane kind of insinuates that it does
Have a purpose.
have to,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? The idea of, there is an order to things, and this needs to be part of it. The thing I like about this one is that it not just plays with an idea, but you can visualize it, and I like the idea of these things crashing together and fracturing and coming up like with these. You said it's hexagonal every time.
Yeah.
Like there's some.
It's visually appealing.
Yes, I like the idea of like you can get into like fractals and stuff like that, and like have these things splintering off into all sorts of different. You know, the idea of order through the universe and like the shape of it and how that breaks down. This appeals to me in that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to say, like, to add to that, I enjoyed the idea of the sounds when you're saying how, like, there is a different sound or a pitch depending on which plane you're on.
Yeah.
And I think that is, again, for a DM, a very good visual or mental cue of where you are, what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the fact that there's battles going on 24/7 and all of a sudden you're on a plane where everything is silent would be very, very mentally frightening. So I think that's just a really cool thing to play into.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, because, I mean, even absolute silence will drive you mad.
100%.
Especially when you're not used to it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What's a good plot hook that would see a party end up in Acheron?
Another one I thought about is retrieving something from the second layer. From the elephant graveyard down there. Yeah. You have to go get something.
Okay,
You don't know where it is. You just know it's in this pile of junk.
Yeah.
When you get close enough, something will warn you. What, though? You don't know.
And you might not want to know.
And you definitely don't want to know, but it has what you need.
Yeah, fair enough. I was thinking that it would be kind of cool to play with the idea of the planes being beside each other, and maybe the Inevitables came over here, found the graveyard, and are now using the parts that they have found to make more Inevitables, which has now overrun, not just this plane, but adjacent planes. And you guys have to come in and figure it out. That is a campaign story right there. You could go so far with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was thinking it'd be really fun to play into like the whole, this is where fighters go, where their spirits go after they've like lost a battle or what have you. And I just thought it would be really cool that if you were ever playing in a campaign where you had a TPK, but you're not ready to give up those characters or those players, there's always weird creative ways to bring people back to life. It'd be really cool if in the next session they woke up here and then they have to figure out how to escape, or how and they're in constant fights and constant battle because that's what they're used to, and then they have to figure out how to get out of this plane and get home.
Oh yeah, like you said, the river Styx runs through here.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot you can do with that.
Yeah, and the way you're talking with that, Megan, I'd give them more juice and easier to heal. Like, you heal fully and get your spells back after a short rest.
Yeah.
So,
keep fighting.
It's okay that these battles are here. You just need a little rest and you're good to go. You can't actually die here.
But everybody else can't die here. Yeah.
But your players won't realize that right away because they'll just move on.
What are some potential issues of running a session or two on Acheron?
I feel like this one, especially on the upper planes, is DM's not taking it far enough. Like, if you're in the middle of a never-ending war where everyone's trying to get one up on each other however they can, that's going to be a brutal battlefield.
Yeah.
Like, we may not have to describe the viscera, but you need to let them know it's there.
Yeah.
Like, this shouldn't be a pleasant place to be anywhere near, and it's a whole plane this way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the idea of having the changing landscape could be quite a difficult thing, for multiple sessions. I've found that me personally, I struggle a lot with theater of the mind. I'm not good. Me no so good at describe words. Right? So
okay, Kevin.
Okay.
Right? Like I've always really relied on the idea of having a battle map, and it really helps me flesh things out. And it doesn't have to be much. It can be as undetailed as possible. But if I have that grid, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Right?
And it works for me as a DM. It works for me as a player. So from both sides of that, I think going here with the changing landscape would be quite a difficult thing for me to wrap my mind around. Not just as a player, but as a DM, and portraying that to my players.
Yeah.
But as a DM, at least, you can decide which layer they're on and when these layers crash together. So they could never crash into the layer you have problems with the whole time they're there, because it's your game.
Sure, but I'm not going to inject a new setting and not explore it completely. Because, like I said...
It would take more than 2 or 3 sessions to explore these planes, any of these planes completely.
Yeah. And again, that's why this would be a problem after,
a campaign,
Yeah. especially knowing how large the spaces are, right? And taking how long it would get to get
Yeah.
across a battlefield to get any other kind of a descriptor or any other different feel. Like, it would take a long time. But yeah, I would say similarly that having to describe this place multiple times would be very difficult. But I also find that DMs have a very hard time navigating battlefields.
Yeah.
So I think that if you are going to be going into this land, research how to navigate a battlefield in D&D 5th edition and different tips and tricks and ways to make battle work.
I'd also look up how to fight as a DM in a battlefield, because I've definitely fought on battlefields in games, and some DMs will give you up against characters that you shouldn't be fighting on a battlefield because they're too overpowered.
Yeah.
And then times where we're way too overpowered to be on the battlefield.
Yeah, exactly, right? Just one more thing you have to navigate
Yeah,
to be. It's a cool place.
Very cool. It'd be very interesting to play in.
Yeah.
But it'd be hard to pull off, especially for a new DM.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even like I feel like I'm fairly experienced at this point. That I'm already running so many different things. Having that visualization of it, whether it's a battle map on the wall, on Roll20, on the table, it really helps me not have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
My players can just look at it and infer from what they see. Now I don't have to manage that part of the game, right? Where, I mean, maybe if I worked on that, I'd be a better DM. Self-improvement?
Crazy thought.
What?
Yeah, you stuff that down.
You push that real deep
You
down,
just
Dave. Right with your emotions.
Swallow that sucker.
Tighten that real down till it comes out in a bit of rage.
Oh,
Healthy.
so healthy.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. And if you want to check us out, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and It's a Mimic on Reddit. You can also email us at info@itsamimic.com, where you can send us your mailbag questions, or you can tell Dave how to self-improve. Positive reviews, share it on social media, and word of mouth is how it gets out there. So please share with everyone you know.
All right, I'm going to talk about Arcadia. Basically also known as the Peaceable Kingdoms of Arcadia. And peaceful it is. So this is a lawful neutral and or good. Some people even say it's true neutral, but it's basically just perfection. So think your town, perfect grid, little houses, just the perfect thatching, it's perfection on a regular, just beautiful. Also imagine just like creatures and animals that just are golden. So think like gold foxes and gold, just everything's just beautiful, right? Never-ending mountains, rolling hills, forests, very naturey, just absolutely beautiful, just gorgeous. The common inhabitants of this place are actually souls of past good and lawful warriors. So I read the word a lot. Petitioners was what they used to represent what that was, but I'm just imagining the souls of very good people. That's what ends up here.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
Makes me kind of think of like that crossover plane of like, we're just going to hunker down here for a little while and enjoy the nice crisp spring air, you know? You'd also might even see the occasional planetar or deva. So like any god-like positive creatures, shall we say. This place doesn't really have day or night. It has an orb, it's got an orb that floats, and one half is the sun, one half is basically the moon, and there's no in between.
All hail the split orb.
You are either on the daytime side or you're on the nighttime side. There is no twilight, there's no rotation, it just exists as day and night on one side or the other.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the weather itself is actually controlled by what is called the Storm Kings. So we have the Cloud King, the Wind Queen, the Lightning King, and the Rain Queen. And they actually live in castles that float around the sun orb.
Okay,
cool.
And then I know, right? And each castle is thematically surrounded by their respective weather pattern.
I'm even more in.
Naturally,
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's a balance thing. Similar to the other planes where everything has a balance, there's a perfect balance of weather. So
Okay.
they live in harmony and peace of how they operate with their weather control.
Okay.
Some other fun features is that this is actually a 2-layered plane. The first layer is called Abellio.
Oh, it's a biplane.
The biplane.
Yeah.
Damn it, Dave.
Surprised it took us this long.
Me too, actually.
Made of paper. But the first layer of Abellio has a mountain called Clangadin, which holds a dwarven kingdom.
Cool.
So a bunch of dwarves dwell within the mountains.
Is normal dwarves or are they special
They're
dwarves?
technically celestial dwarves, but they
Okay.
operate and act as per normal dwarves.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, they are famous for their weapons and their armor.
Okay.
That's super cool.
And then they have the second layer is Mechanus, which is a land where it basically borders Mechanus. And there used to be a plane like a layer in between called Manassas, and it got absorbed by Mechanus. So the plane of Mechanus is in constant battle, wanting the missing plane back from Mechanus, but the plane doesn't exist anymore because it got absorbed. So the battle is fraught. They're never going to get it back. The plane is gone.
So the plane was hijacked.
It was hijacked.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
They lost their meniscus between there.
They lost the meniscus.
I don't want to talk about that. I have a meniscus injury.
Yeah, you can't get your meniscus back, dude.
I know. I'm aware.
There's
It
no
hurts all
meniscus
the
to
time.
get back.
My knee sucks.
Yeah. Oh, God. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a very interesting plane.
I actually really like that one.
Yeah.
Like, me as a person, big fan.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like the lawful good awesomeness, a
Mhm.
little bit of turmoil here and there, but for me again, it's the perfection piece
Yeah,
to it.
no,
right?
that's...
When you look down on it, I imagine that you see like that perfect town grid line. You
Yeah,
see
perfect time grid. And then the sun and night side, I'm assuming, splits down the middle of Main Street.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
it's done right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Also Weather Kings. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, Weather Kings and floating castles.
Is that having to do with the Storm King's thunder? Is that the same
I
kind
don't
of
know.
Storm
I
King?
just hope one of their castles is named Chaos Breaker, because I feel like that fits.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Floating castle Chaos Breaker?
Chaos
That's
Castle?
pretty cool.
Castle of Chaos?
All right, let's roll again here. Let's see what inspires you the most about Arcadia.
I rolled a 5.
I rolled an 8.
I rolled an 18.
Oh, sweet baby angel.
Those those castles.
Castles?
There's
You're about the
there's a
castles.
lot to do with that. Like, have one fall out of the sky.
Ooh.
You've just broken their nice even harmony there.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too. I like the idea of now that because I mean these castles, they're all certain kinds of weather, right?
Mhm.
So now all of a sudden the thunderstorm castle has fallen out of the sky. Does it stop thundering on the material plane?
Yeah.
Has that fundamentally changed weather everywhere else?
Well, I guess kind of we were talking about how the cogs,
Yeah.
the stopping that would affect something. The battles are needed to continue for a reason. I feel
Everything has
a
a
purpose.
reason for existing, whether it's to the material plane
like
or to another plane.
Yeah.
Because in the logic we were just talking, the cogs could be driving the spinning of the world, and the one I was talking about, where the wars are driving the energy for the storms. So everything could be connected, and you're knocking one domino, you break a whole system.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like the dwarves.
I really like the dwarves
Like, just
too.
randomly, I was just like, that's an interesting
just dwarves.
tidbit. Well, because that's the thing, because we're thinking these are like, these planes are full of deities, gods, like good souls, bad souls, and then all of a sudden there's just a mountain with dwarves.
Dwarves.
Of course, it's a mountain with dwarves.
Just
Yeah.
a great
Right.
little anecdote, I
But
think.
we both had I had mountains in mind. There was no dwarves.
Yeah.
We didn't get dwarves. We got spirit
I got
dwarves,
dwarves.
but that's not.
Yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
What is a good plot hook that would see a party end up on Arcadia?
One of the dwarf members of the party is descendant from one of the celestial dwarves, but they don't know that.
Oh, they're
Them and their whole party gets called to this realm. They need to figure out why, because they get dropped in the middle of the perfect center, not at the dwarf mountain, because you can't show up unbalanced.
But then everybody starts treating you differently because you're a dwarf, and they're like, they know who
They
you are.
know who you are. They
Yeah.
sense that you are celestial dwarf, but you don't know that. So you're treated better than the rest of your companions. Everyone's going out of their way to help you, but no one else.
No one else. Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like the idea of trying to carve out this other plane that existed between them
Mm-hmm.
and figuring that out, because having a part of a plane shift to a new plane and then back to another, like, there's some serious tinkering you can do with that.
Well, I tried to figure out more why it happened,
Mhm.
and there's not a whole lot written on it. It's just that it got absorbed, and then that was the end of it. And then they're in a constant fight to get it back.
That's
That'd
one
be
of
a
my
good one to
favorite
do
things.
after
Love that.
Strahd. So use the same party that survived Strahd, because he's got a pocket plane.
Yeah.
Can they recreate a pocket plane now that they know it's possible?
Mhm.
Whether the people on both sides that have way more power than they do, but can they discuss, like, we just saw a thing.
Well, isn't Strahd part of the Shadowfell?
Yeah, pocket plane of the Shadowfell, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
point being pocket plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could always retcon something as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you thought it was, but haha.
Yeah.
Right? Interesting.
Mhm.
I like making it I was thinking fetch quest with this one, weirdly enough. Because with the dwarves and their weapons and their armor, it's almost like there's a piece of weaponry or
There's
an
a
armor,
MacGuffin
or there's a
somewhere in
MacGuffin
there.
somewhere
Yeah.
within the mountain that you have to get, but you have to go through the entire plane to get to said mountain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What are some potential issues of running a session or two on Arcadia?
Most of these boil down to your players not taking to the point or being obstinate to the point of that particular plane.
Yeah.
So if you're trying, this is a more lawful good plane. If you're going to be chaotic evil, there's going to be punishment from the plane itself and from your DM.
They'd just kick you off.
Yeah,
They'd be like,
you would
"Okay."
get booted, but you wouldn't get booted back to a plane. You would get booted to an in-between.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let you be, because they are lawful. You were breaking laws. You get punishment for breaking laws.
Interesting.
But who would lay down the punishment? I guess the kings and the queens.
Yeah.
The weather, it just strikes you with lightning.
Just strikes you with lightning, you get knocked
Like,
out
whoops.
of the plane.
Oh, so we got another Zeus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it just rains on you.
Yeah.
Constantly.
It rains.
It's
Yeah.
really sunny.
I like the
Or
idea
all
of the
weather
rain queen.
at once.
I just want to art the rain queen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just feel like that's a really good, wholesome imagery in my head.
She's either really depressed and is crying all the time.
Yeah.
Or she's the happiest person you've ever seen.
And I imagine her castle being full of plant life.
Yeah.
Because,
everywhere.
like, just a,
It's
anyways,
a tropical jungle up there.
off topic, but yeah.
This whole episode's off topic.
Well, you know, one of the things I really liked about the whole weather side of things, and I feel like weather isn't addressed very often in D&D.
Yeah.
No.
It's never, oh, is it raining? Is it snowing? It's like, no, there might be snow on the ground, but like,
You're fine.
other than that, nobody ever really addresses
No,
this.
there's never mud on a dirt trail with a wagon.
Absolutely not.
What can be the long-term consequences of spending an entire campaign in a particular weather pattern?
Yeah, like you spend
Oh.
the time in the castle and it's constantly raining.
Yeah.
And like you have to be there for weeks on end.
Disadvantage for the opposite environment, but advantage in that environment. I wouldn't, because it's a lawful plane particularly, I wouldn't give full detriment. I would give you a equal return.
I don't know. I think that maybe staying in, the always bright and sunny part of it, I feel like it would be difficult to rest. I mean, we had that heat dome here last summer, and it was fucking hot.
It was the worst.
It was the worst thing
I was
ever,
camping.
yeah.
It was 47 degrees Celsius.
No.
I know, he told me he was going to go camping as the heat dome's building worse. I'm like, you're going to die, Dave.
Yeah, you will die out there.
I was fine, mostly.
Mostly.
Yeah, thank God the cars had air conditioning.
Mm.
Never wanted to go sit in a car while I was camping before, but it worked. But, I mean, when I was sleeping, when I was resting, I wasn't resting.
Mhm.
I was not recovering. So maybe you start to set in levels of exhaustion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long can
Never
you
get a
guys...
full rest, only like short rests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How long can your guys actually survive in one of these like bright and sunny locations? Right?
Mhm.
That's an interesting side of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. All right. Anybody have any final thoughts on anything here today?
I don't think planes are used enough anymore.
Nowhere near enough.
I think everybody's so excited about homebrewing and making their own thing or just doing their
Mm-hmm.
own world that people forget that this kind of lore exists within the
Yeah.
game.
I would argue almost the opposite because
Argue with me, Dave.
well, again, I have a 3.5 background, and we didn't do Feywild, we didn't do Shadowfell, we didn't do anything else. There was no, there were spells, there was different planes and so on, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is in 5th edition. Like we said, Strahd, you're going to the Shadowfell. The new Wild Beyond the Witchlight, that's Feywild, right? Like these settings are getting their own books. So maybe not, specifically the Lawful Planes, but they are bringing the planes in. I think it's just such a hard concept for, people that don't necessarily have, I don't want to offend anybody, but like not everybody has the biggest imagination. Not everybody can visualize everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's something that I personally struggle with as a DM, as a player. So I think that's probably why it's a little daunting for me, is I have a hard time explaining what you guys are looking at when you're in a room.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in the astral sea. I don't know what that looks like. At least when I'm explaining the room, I have a picture in my head.
Yeah.
Right? I can, there's a table and chairs, blah, blah, blah.
You can draw it out, whereas like an environment.
It's all up for interpretation.
Yeah.
It's got some loose guidelines, but there's a lot more to it, and that's intimidating to me as a DM, because it's just another thing that I have to manage.
and learn about.
Yeah, and I mean, I love low maintenance games.
Yeah.
As a DM personally, I want to put an hour of work into it. I don't want to put a week of work into an hour. You know.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fair.
One thing for me, I feel the planes, especially once you get outside the Shadowfell and the Feywild, needs a party that is willing to roleplay. Because if you just have a party that's there to be murder hobos, no one's going to get enjoyment out of any of this.
They're not going to care what you're saying.
They're not going to care what you're saying. They just want the next thing to kill.
Yeah.
And you trying to put them into a story, you're not going to be happy either. So avoid it with parties that don't want it. Talk with your parties.
Do you care, or do you just want the tavern and the road?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Fair.
No.
So that's all for this discussion on the Lawful Planes, but there are a lot of other planes in Dungeons & Dragons, so subscribe or follow, and check back regularly to see what inspirations and insights we'll have for you in the future. Next week, we'll be returning once again to a handful of popular monstrous races in D&D, this time from a character creation perspective.
If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website, www.itsmimic.com, as well as a store for some awesome merch. We also rely on word of mouth to get news of the podcast out there to the community. So please pass the word to everyone you know that we're available on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as most podcast apps. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
This has been an It's a Mimic production. Inquiries, requests, and questions for our mailbags can be sent to info@itsamimic.com.
So what plane do you think the members of tonight's shindig would belong to?
Okay, that's just too serious for me.
Yeah, I don't know, James. You know, I'll be honest, I don't really know a lot about the planes, so I haven't really looked.
But we talked about the
we
planes
just
all
spent
day.
talking about it.
Well, I mean, we only spoke about 3 of them.
That is true, David.
Are we actually going to roll in this dice tower, though? That's this beautiful dice tower that's here?
Yeah, Justin made it.
Yeah, Justin made it for Christmas for Adam?
Something like that.
It's so cute.
Mostly Pringles.
Yeah, mostly Pringles. Bunch of clay.
He did a lot of work on the clay.
He did.
He had to go back for like 3 or 4 different clay
That's a
runs.
lot of clay he used.
Yeah.
Okay, but I would like to be in the Feywild, so...
Fair.
Yeah.
I think Dave would be in the
Shadowfell.
Fountain. No, the Fountain, the Elephant Graveyard, like where just lost shit goes.
Oh, okay.
I feel like Dave would just be
Lost
tinkering
shit
around.
goes. You know what? That checks out. That just goes where all the lost crap goes.
Happy Hunting Grounds? Is that a plane?
Is that a place?
Sure.
It's called the Feywild.
But I think you're the prey.
Oh.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, I'm into it. It's fine.
I won't yuck your yum.
Gross.
Besides,
Look,
like,
Don't be an idiot.
don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or like, don't trip in the cogs. Don't fall into the cogs.
You know what? If you get 2 nat ones and you fall in the cogs, they'll make you a new body. And I feel like that would be the group that would, too.
100%.
They'd be like, oh shit, that's not supposed to happen. Sorry the guardrail wasn't there. That's a little chaotic.
Oh.
Here's a new body
We meant
for
to
you.
repair that. Here you go. Take responsibility for my actions.
Personal growth? What the fuck?
Fuck that.
This is my spare time.
The next mailbag episode is going to be an entire paper full of the how can Dave self-improve.
Oh god, no.
Just small anecdotes.
It won't even be a mailbag anymore. It'll just be Dave's better time.
Yeah, it's an intervention.
That's a whole new series.
I love it.
The fans intervene, Dave.
Yeah. We're here to help you. Let us help you.
Thanks for listening. Bye.